Hi, this is Amber Antonelli with Awaken Your Soul, and I'm here with my buddy Pete. About a year after his second Iboga experience, he's been to Awaken Your Soul once, which was a year ago, and then prior to that, worked with the medicine before. And yeah, he's looking forward to sharing a bit about his experience and about his integration. So the idea here is to really get a sense of the power of this medicine as it unfolds, not necessarily right after the retreat, but how it impacts the lives when we go home. So yeah, good to see you, Pete.
Good to see you too. Good to see you again.
Yeah, so share with me a little bit about what brought you to work with this medicine to begin with.
Yeah, definitely. So the first time we did it, I was in Brazil, and we went down to Brazil because my wife was struggling with addiction with alcohol, and her therapist at the time said, "Listen, I see you're struggling. Iboga is an amazing way to help with addiction." And so she was like, "I want to go down there. Come with me." I researched Iboga, and I said, "No way am I doing Iboga." I was like, "Oh my God, that sounds terrifying." But we went down there. I went there to support her, and then we went down there. And there's so much ceremony that happens in preparation for doing your Iboga journey. And by the time I got done with the spiritual bath and we did a temescal and all these things, I was like, I want to do this and I'm ready to do it. And I got on the mattress, and it was the most significant experience of my life. It was completely changed. And so we did it twice during that ceremony time. And I think for some people, they do it once or twice in their life, and that's good for them. About 5 months later, I was like, I need to do this again. And so I wanted to go somewhere else. We were the only English speaking people down in Brazil. The integration was really not there, and the support wasn't there. And so my wife did a lot of research, and she found Awaken Your Soul. And I want to find a place that was, one, English speaking, two, just a kind of a loving environment, but that's kind of why I did it the first time. I kind of stumbled into it a little bit and supported my wife. And now I'm like
Accidentally.
Accidentally. Yeah. The medicine just like randomly calls you. But it was the most significant experience of my life, and it continues to be.
Yeah. And you, just to note, for the listeners, you did not come with your wife. She came first and then you came after, correct?
That's correct. So, we kind of did this journey together the first time. And then she felt like she had more work to do. So she went to Awaken Your Soul by herself. And I was kind of like, I wanted to go first, just because I was anxious to get back on the mattress. But then, yeah, I went separately, which going together was an amazing experience. Just sharing that journey together was amazing. But then being able to kind of separate and having those experiences by ourselves. We have kids at home. And so having someone at home that is taking care of everything, that you don't worry about that and you can really focus on yourself, was amazing.
Yeah. And so stumbling into it accidentally, then just moving organically into the experience, but then deciding 5-6 months later that you wanted to come back. What was your intention for the work?
Yes. So I think that everyone comes to Iboga for different reasons, right? It could be you're focused on addiction, or it could be some traumatic experience that happened to you, or you just want to like vibrate on another level, right? But what everyone gets out of Iboga is self-love. I mean, it's just like everyone comes to it for different reasons. They all come to it with the same thing. And after my first ceremony, it was such a shift in my mindset in terms of self-love for myself and other people. And just those things that you worry about that keep you up at night are all gone because they just don't matter anymore, right? You're just vibrating on a different level. And I realized in my first ceremony, it was very topical, meaning like things that were happening today in my life. And that's what those journeys were about. But I want to go deeper into kind of my past and just who I am and why I am and why do I think this way. And really like enforce that immense self-love for myself. And so that really was my intention. And I got it in a massive way.
Did you receive it in the retreat itself, or was it something that manifested more in the integration time, or both?
Yeah, both. I mean, Iboga is so clear. I mean, there's no question of like, oh, what does this mean? I mean, it is so very clear, and it's such a progressive journey. Like the first night is kind of like a tee up to the second night, which in my opinion is like the big event, which is really amazing. But the medicine is so smart in terms of just like building you to where you need to be. And it's great you have intention. The medicine knows exactly what needs to happen with you. It's hard to explain.
Intentions be damned. Really.
Exactly. And so yes, I had massive amounts of downloads. The second day, which is Discovery Day, where you're just like you're still kind of experiencing the medicine very strongly, but you're in your room. That is the most beautiful day for me, because like your entire life is pieced together and your mind is just firing in all these different directions. So the downloads for me happen a lot during that time period, but then it's like weeks, months later. And you would always say this, you're like, oh, the downloads can come like months later. And you're like, what? You will literally be sitting there and all of a sudden you're just like, oh, that's what that means.
Yeah.
Oh, and I would replay my journeys over and over again in my head. And every time I did, I would have new downloads that are not just like, oh, that's kind of interesting, like life-changing things that you're like, oh, that's what that means. Okay. And it's that integration, talking to you after every ceremony was so important. Just like the integration of like, okay, you had this amazing experience, you're going back into your life. How do you keep that experience? And how do you change your daily routine so that this life-changing experience stays with you for months and frankly, years afterwards?
Yeah. How was that for you? Was that challenging? I mean, if you were to take the sum of all of the downloads that you received and like actually putting them into practice, I mean, it's a lot to integrate, right? Like for anyone, doesn't matter how intentional you are. How was that for you?
It was the first time I did it down in Brazil, it was very difficult because there was no post-ceremony help or integration. It was, you just like, okay, great experience, goodbye, So I realized that how important the integration piece is. So after I did the ceremony, Awaken Your Soul, yeah, I mean, I changed everything. Like I grew a very deep meditation practice. And, I would text with you or I would text with people within my group. And that helped a lot. And it's really important to have like an integration coach. I worked with one of your integration coaches afterwards. One of the names that you gave me. And, I did breath work afterwards because I had this amazing experience at Awaken Your Soul with breath work. And so it's those things. You can't just like do the medicine and then go back in your life and be like, okay, that was interesting, let's move on. It's like, how do you take this amazing life-changing experience and integrate it into your daily life?
Yeah, I mean, that's where the transformation actually happens. I mean, to a degree, the medicine is working on neural pathways and connecting synapses and like, starting elements of our thinking process from, a different baseline. And our pathways are really deep. Those grooves are practiced, over 30, 40, 50, 60 years, depending on, what age you come to this work with. And yeah, so we actually have to choose in every moment to make a different choice. And sometimes we don't make the different choice. But if we're committed, then more often than not, we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, when you leave Awaken Your Soul, that medicine is in you for a long time. I mean, you can feel it, with your interactions with people, just sitting by yourself. I mean, I'll do meditations and sometimes I'll just close my eyes, and I have very visual meditations, but I can kind of get back into it. And I listen to Bwiti music all the time. Like during the ceremony, you're like, oh my God, what is this music? It's so important. And then I still listen to it. Like I'll do hikes and hiking meditations, and I'll just be playing that music, and it just gets me back into that like thought pattern of, and the downloads. So
the brain chiseling,
the
chiseling of the old thought patterns, the stale thought patterns that no longer serve. Those of you that have heard the Bwiti music, you understand what an amazing commitment that is for him to be hiking and listening to it.
I know
it's beautiful, but it's intense.
Well, I remember before I went and did it, I actually looked up the music and I listened to it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like crazy. I could never listen to this music. Yeah. And then
amplified by 10,000 on the strongest psychedelic.
Yes. But when the music's playing during your journey, it's like this perfect symphony that like guides you through your process. Yeah. And then when you come home, you have, Iboga is very challenging. I mean, it's like, not in like oh, this is so scary. It's just challenging in terms of, it's long, you're working through a lot of stuff internally. And when you leave, you're like, oh my God, that was the best thing in the world. Yeah. Like, you don't want to go back on the mattress right away, but you're like, I want to experience that again. And you can do that by listening to the music,
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And so any other journeys planned in your future? Is it something that's calling you, or you feel like you're good for now?
No, I mean, my wife and I talked about it this morning. We're definitely going to do another journey. It's something that I'll do multiple times for the rest of my life. I think I did it back to back. I did it kind of like, 5 months after the first ceremony, which was perfect for me. And now I'm like, okay, I'm good for a little bit. So, I'll be back at Awaken Your Soul probably end of this year, probably next year.
Yeah.
And then maybe it's like every other year that I might want to do it. But you know when you feel like you need it again.
Yeah,
You
for
know?
sure. And it's different. Some people like, one retreat, one ceremony even is enough to really impact their lives. And then, they don't get the call. But those of us that really vibrate with this medicine, it's a teacher, and I don't journey all the time by any means. I'm actually a bit overdue for a journey, but yeah, every year, maybe every couple of years. And yeah, when it's time.
Yeah. And I'm just, it's definitely part of my life, and it will always be part of my life. And I really think that everyone in the world should do it. They
Mm,
just should. I mean, we would be such a better society. And,
yeah.
so, for people who are listening, if you're concerned, if you're scared, totally normal. When you're on this journey, you're literally talking to your highest self,
Mm,
and you're a co-pilot, unlike other medicines, I think, where you're just like this participant, you're definitely a co-pilot. So you're communicating with the plant. And if you're like, oh, I don't want to see that, boom, you don't have to see it. You can push that away. Now it's going to come back to you a little bit and say like, well, maybe you should, but the medicine is funny and it's happy. And it's a great experience.
yeah. The Iboga has a very cheeky sense of humor that gets us through
Hilarious.
the toughest of times. Yeah.
Hilarious. Yeah.
Hilarious. Yeah. You can't write the stuff that you hear from the medicine in these journeys.
No, and every journey is completely different. So, I've done it 4 times. Every single journey was totally different, but it was exactly what I needed. And the lessons were just perfect for me at that time.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Cool.
thanks for sharing. We so
Yeah.
look forward to having you guys back when the time calls. And yeah, you guys always have a home at AYS.
All right. Awesome. Can't wait to come back.
Yeah, I love you,
Thanks,
Pete. Give me
Amber.
a hug to Brooks.
I will. Love you too. See ya.
Ciao.